Hi everyone, so we're starting to learn a little bit more about Wolfenstein's technical accomplishment, as it were, on the PC. Now, one of the issues a lot of people have been noticing is even with really high performance gear, you're getting slowdown, stuttering and all sorts of issues. Now, HardOCP have taken a look at the game engine, they've run some benchmarks and they've run it in various configurations on a couple of different cards. Now, what they've noticed makes perfect sense. It seems that this game is not CPU constrained or GPU constrained, but is VRAM constrained. Now this makes perfect sense with the Megatexture technology. Effectively, all of the texture information is loaded onto the graphics card's VRAM as it's required for a scene, and then the Megatexture system does its job, making sure the right texture is used at the right time, depending on where you're looking at it. And obviously this is where we get this kind of texture smearing problem if you turn around too fast and then the texture's popping. So what we're finding is it doesn't matter how fast your CPU is or how fast your GPU is. What it actually matters is how much VRAM you have and how much texture memory, effectively, you're going to tell the game to load onto the graphics card. Now, if you have a graphics card which only has 1 gig of VRAM or 2 gig of VRAM, what you're going to find is if you try and use the larger size textures, the higher resolution textures, and turn texture compression off, effectively you are not able to fill up as much of the VRAM as necessary for the game to then not have to be trying to pull data from the hard drive and swapping and caching out those textures overall, and that seems to be dragging the system down. So what we really have here is a situation where this game kind of works counter to every other engine on the planet, really, from a point of view of how we would normally encounter bottlenecks within the GPU. Effectively, we're not seeing a problem actually with the raw performance power of the GPU, its clock cycles or anything like that. That's completely irrelevant here. And again, the CPU really isn't a major issue, as I discovered the other day with our AMD FX1 2.3 GHz processor, which is nearly always CPU constrained in any game you throw at it. On Wolfenstein, it doesn't even have a problem. It hits about 70 or 80% most of the time, never maxes out. It's a very strange thing. So what we have here is a game engine that is incredibly efficient on CPU, very efficient on GPU, but unfortunately when it comes to making use of video memory, it's an absolute hog, especially if you don't have things set up and tweaked just right. Now, what can be done about this? Well, basically nothing. This is how this game engine works. If you have a graphics card with only 1 gig or 2 gig of VRAM, you're going to have to go in there and tweak those settings somewhat, really to try and find, well, the sweet spot that your card is able to transfer that data into memory and then execute it and push it to the screen. Ultimately, if you have too big of textures, you're going to get some underrun here. So that is Wolfenstein. Do go and check out the HardOCP teardown. It's quite interesting. There's some really useful information in there if you're interested in learning a bit more about how id's Tech 5 engine works. But overall, I'm afraid Wolfenstein on PC appears to be a port of the console game, and then really just not optimized properly at all for PC architecture, especially in the way that VRAM is being used. It's highly inefficient on lower end cards.